do the counting thing again?
I'm not doing the counting thing anymore. I don't really feel like the counting thing works.
Okay, so you wanted to do the counting thing. You wanted the experience of doing the 5, 4, 3, silence. How does it feel?
Well, it feels that's one more thing off my bucket list.
Oh.
That was number 28 of 132. Be able to do the 5 count.
How did that rank so high?
It's not ranked in any sort of order of importance. It's ranked just I just watched Wayne's World and I remember when they were doing the 5, 4, 3, and I want to do that sometime.
Glad we could give you.
So that's why. So thank you. It's kind of like a Make-A-Wish.
I was about to say, I'm glad we fulfilled your wish.
It's pretty good.
I felt good last week with that, and
Can we review what's on the list at some point? 132 items?
yeah, I
That's
can
pretty good.
Put it on a piece of paper and put it in the popcorn bowl, and maybe one week we'll talk all about 132 items, now 131 on my bucket list.
Bucket list is a good topic. I wonder if it's in the bowl.
I guess we'll have to start the theme music and find out.
Think so.
Let's go.
You know, my buddy, I'm not going to name drop here, but my buddy Phil Kogan, host of The Amazing Race.
Oh.
He...
No, by the way, when you say he's your buddy, is he like really?
No, I consider him a friend for sure.
Like if you had a, I don't know, a flat tire, nobody was home, you couldn't get a hold of anybody, and the only person you could get a hold of was Phil?
He'd be top 3 because he's pretty handy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think it'd be you two and then him.
I think you should call him before you call me.
You know what?
Yeah,
You're
call him before you call me too. But if he doesn't answer, you can call us.
I'll call you. He has his whole like brand is like he had like a near death experience and did a
what he did?
Yeah, and he got out of this. He was diving. I think I have the story right. He lost his oxygen, and they got to him in time. But he literally got out, was on the boat. If I have the story correct, wrote down his top 20 things that he wanted to do before he died. And that like immediately sort of shifted and became his brand from that point on.
Wow.
And it's sort of, he's written a book about it, and it's sort of like he's got his own podcast, but it's all built around the bucket list.
Let me just ask something because I'm fascinated about this. Did he recount the experience of having a near-death experience?
Yes.
Like what did he, a lot of times people say like you're floating above your body. You see your life in review. You see family members that have died. Does any of this happen?
I don't remember. I read the book years ago, but he's talked about it a lot. And it's definitely like inspired sort of the direction he took in his career and in life. And basically it informed his path in terms of, I don't want to be a guy who sits behind a desk. I want to be out in the world, living life, which is why he's the host of The Amazing Race.
So this all happened before he became the host of The Amazing Race?
Oh, yeah. He was, I think, 19 when it happened. And
awesome.
He was training. But he might have actually been working in TV at the moment, like trying to like local New Zealand TV. I can't remember, but it was a real thing. And he literally got on top of the boat, wrote the list, and he updates it, I think, every year. As he checks things off, he goes back in, updates it with new items.
Do you think counting down from 5 is on that list? Probably not.
Probably not.
It makes me wonder, like, is my list super pedestrian compared to
I don't think
Phil's list? I don't know.
Listen, it's all personal, right?
I guess you're right. I guess it's all that matters.
You know what's on my list?
What's on your list?
It's to reach into this popcorn bowl and find out what our topic of the week is going to be.
Well, you already did it once. It's off your list now.
Yes, but I didn't have a list at that point.
Oh, you started the list today.
Actually, technically, I don't have a bucket list. I've never made one. For whatever reason, I've just never thought about. That's not to say I don't think about the end, but I do. I do not think about the things I need to do before the end. I do often think about the end, but I've never stopped to actually make that list. So before I make that list, I'm going to reach into the bowl.
But before you even do that, there's so many business things that have to happen.
Why don't you want me to reach into the bowl?
Because other things have to happen first. For all those listeners, all those viewers who suddenly tuned into this episode on their AM/FM radio system, 8-track device.
It's 6 of one, half a dozen of another, I'll tell you that.
If you don't know what that means, this really is truly your first episode.
And welcome.
Yes. Who are we all? This is Paul.
And this is Ben.
And this is Mitch.
And I'm going to reach into the bowl.
Don't reach into the bowl yet.
Why not?
People need to understand.
Well, okay, so here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach into the bowl. I'm going to pull out a topic. We've all written things on topics on slips of paper. We folded them up. We put them in this popcorn bowl, and we don't know what they are other than the ones we wrote. And so we randomly pick one each week, and we use that as the basis of our conversation and the basis of this podcast. So then we will all find out collectively together what we are talking about.
One other thing to call out before you reach into the bowl. It's Ben's turn this week to reach into the bowl. We have all used ink pens to write the ideas, and they're blue. I think they're all blue.
I think they're black.
You think they're black?
The ones today are black.
They're black.
They're black.
Do we have a pen sponsor, by the way? Are we sponsored by a
We're
pen
not
company?
sponsored yet by a pen company, but we are open.
Bic pens?
We are open. All right. Well, Ben, why don't you go ahead and reach into the popcorn bowl of mystery?
I'm looking off into the distance as my hand goes into the
He's
bowl.
looking at the Murphy bed.
And I pull out this slip of paper.
Now, before you read it, just tell us, is it yours or is it somebody else's?
It's another one of mine. Sorry, Mitch. At this point, Mitch is like 0 for 5.
Has it nothing nothing yet has been picked of yours?
Nothing. I think you're actually reaching your hand in and taking mine out before we get to
We're literally going to have a string of episodes that are going to be Mitch's one after another.
Those are going to be great episodes, by the way. I know Mitch has got some good topics
some
waiting
good
for
stuff
us.
in there.
I can't wait to see what that is.
Because part of the premise of this is that we're doing this because invariably when the three of us get together, there's always one person who doesn't quite know what the hell we're talking about. And we're pretty sure that Mitch's topics are the ones that either Paul or I are going to know very little to nothing about.
I don't think so. No, I went a little broad. I think,
All right.
yeah,
All right.
we're going to be okay.
All right. Why don't you go ahead and read your topic? Is this a topic you put in the bowl this week or from a previous time?
It's from a previous time,
Okay.
previous episode, or previous week. And the topic is...
Well, can you give us, before you read it, can you give us your state of mind when you were writing the topic down?
I was looking for something a little bit more philosophical and personal.
Oh,
Not a pop culture thing, although
Okay.
it may lead that conversation may go that way.
Okay.
I wanted something to kind of, because everyone kind of, I think, has their own version of this. It's unique to me. It's unique to you, Paul, and you, Mitch, and everybody who's listening. I think you all have this in your minds, and so hopefully it'll get you thinking about it as well. And you can, talk to us about that on the socials. You can drop us a line on the socials, and you give us what you thought.
Drop us a line on the socials.
We're going back to Blue Sky now?
Listen here now. Listen here.
Okay, so here we go. Here's the topic of the week.
Okay.
Your definition of success.
This is like a TED Talk.
It is. It's a bit of a thinker.
Wow. That's a good one.
Success. Who's going to go first?
I think you should go first.
Success. What is success?
Your definition of success.
Other than is it a 7-letter word? SUCCESS. Yes. 7 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Now that math.
That does not work.
What is success? It's interesting. I think success is... I think what's fascinating is that success is the result of your upbringing to a certain extent, right? Like this whole nurture versus nature, like the environment you're brought up in, the parents that you have instill generally upon you as to what success looks like. For example, like there are parents who say, I do this, I am a lawyer, you're going to be a lawyer. You passing the bar is success. You know what I mean? Like I think there's two kind of groups of people who either approach success as something that like was instilled in them versus success from my perspective, which is, are you happy? Right? At the end of the day, like, are you doing what you love? At the end of every day, do you feel like you've had an experience, you've made progress in something that you're excited about? The only problem, and I think, Ben, knowing you may agree with this also, is the fact that, like, the goalposts are always moving, right? Mm-hmm. Like, especially in the entertainment industry. I came in the entertainment industry with the focus of, like, all right, I'm going to write and produce. Like, I'm going to, this movie's going to get made. This thing's going to get published, whatever. But the problem is every time you reach one of those milestones, it all resets again. So It's like, great. Like, I first came to town, it was like, I want to sell a movie. Then I sold the movie to Disney. And then it was like, okay, well, I sold them. Now I just want them to make it. Right. Which they never made. But had they even made it, then...
Was it a box office success?
Did it succeed at the box office? Did it turn into a TV series? Were there drink cozies with the logo on it? Not really on my list of success. But that's the thing.
That's not on your list of success? Drink cozies?
Drink cozy with the logo. But that's always been my problem is I've been trying so desperately to enjoy the moment and the day and not what is going to come 2 years from now or 5 years from now. But it's tough.
Well, I think you're right. We have been conditioned to believe that monetary success is the barometer by which all success is measured. And I do think there is some truth to that in a capitalistic society, the expectation that your worth is determined by your actual financial worth. Sadly, I don't agree with it. I don't believe that. I don't want to believe that. I know, for people who struggle, money means more than any other, side effect of success, right? But I do think at the end of the day, there's something to be said about the contentment that comes and the feeling of success that comes with a job well done, achieving something you personally set out to do, and making it, taking something from the contents of your mind and making it a reality, whether it be a script or a television show or a movie or a painting or whatever, whatever thing, or a business. I mean, any of those things that allows you to sort of, fulfill your life's work. And at the end of the day, look back and go, I made something is a great barometer of success. The other side of that is, what comes with that if you are inclined to be, a family person, if you are inclined to want to have kids, seeing the impact of your existence on other people in a positive way, I think is another huge measure of success. I don't know if you guys are aware, but I'm a huge Rush fan.
What?
Really?
You mean the feeling of it, like the feeling of a rush in the moment?
I mean the Canadian band.
Oh, the band,
the three-man band,
the Holy Trinity.
No, I think we're well aware.
So,
yes,
because you know that, I'm going to reference the very last song on their very last album, which came out in 2012. The album was called Clockwork Angels, and the song was called The Garden. And in writing the lyrics for that song, Neil Peart tapped into
Peart or Peart.
Peart. It's pronounced Peart.
All right. How do you spell it?
I said Peart too.
Peart.
Huh. All right.
Yeah. He was inspired by Voltaire's Candide and the notion of that, our lives are a garden that we all have to tend to, and that, the measure of a life is how well you tend that garden, how well you nurture and protect it. And at the end of the day, all the things being equal, 6 of one, half a dozen.
See, it keeps coming back.
Keeps coming back. There's a reason why it exists.
Tomato.
Clearly.
That at the end of the day, if you can sort of look at your life as a garden that you tended and you maintained, and it's thriving and prosperous, then that's, the people you love, the respect you've earned from others. That is the definition of success.
But do you believe that?
I do. I mean, again, because, like my wife Tracy's grandmother used to say, there's no pockets in the coffin. So, you great, you made all this money in life, fantastic, more power to you, but you're not taking it with you. You're leaving it behind. That's for those who you leave behind, if you leave your money behind, then that's a success too.
But that's when you leave behind. So like you're living your day to day right now. You've got a loving family, right? They're all healthy.
Yep.
Everything's good.
Yep.
Do you go to bed at night and say, man, life is a big success? Or do you say to yourself, well, if this would happen or this would happen, then I'd really feel like successful?
Well, I mean, for me, and then I'll throw it to Mitch, because I know, see Mitch he's very eager to say something.
Ready.
I'm ready.
He's ready.
I'll just say this one thing to that is ambition never goes away. Like if you have ambition to succeed, that never goes away. But when I am laying in bed and knowing, my kids are healthy, my wife's healthy, we're in a safe, loving home. What more do I want? Right? It's purely what I want for all of us, not just me. You know what I mean?
And your success professionally takes care of that.
It helps, but listen, you can always reach another plateau.
Right.
So that's my 2 cents on success. Okay. Mitch, what do you think?
By the way, I actually think about this a lot. I think I'm super lucky, and I always work from that place first. I think I'm blessed beyond. Truthfully, I really do. I think I measure success a lot of different ways. I think the fact that I wake up in the morning excited to start working, I think that's a true measure of success. I think both of you do as well. I think you're lucky to be able to do what you love, not be forced to, show up at a job you hate.
Right.
I think the notion of like creating, I think that's something that I never really had the ambition to do. And, I fell into that piece of work as I got a little bit older, and I'm able to use some of those muscles sometimes. That's another sort of degree of success that I never really anticipated, but it's sort of evolved the way I view success now, and I really enjoy that, and it sort of inspires me, and so I love that piece of it. I love that piece of my job. But I will say, like, I think for me, you said when you go to bed at night, is there anything that you think of that you could that would make your life better, or you would increase your sort of perception of whether or not you're succeeding? I don't think so. For me, I think the fact that I do have a loving wife, I'm happy with my job, I'm fortunate to have a job, I love my kids, like all that stuff. I know we say that stuff and you put that on a lot of different sort of signs around TJ Maxx or whatever, but I do think that is sort of the way I view success. Personally, I'm very satisfied. Professionally, I am very satisfied. I also think that by the way, sitting here doing this with you guys, like that actually makes me really happy because we are actually I don't even know what we're doing, but we're having fun doing it, right? And we get to do this and we don't have to be out there doing whatever.
Right.
I think I think it's also for me, I'll try to wrap this up. For me, it is about being aware of how lucky I am. And that is where I find my success, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I'm super aware of how fortunate I am. And I think that usually, that's how I sort of measure my success. And I also think, just one other thing, I think being able to, when things get tough or when things, sort of get shitty and they, and things like that, I think the fact, if you can get through those things, which I've been fortunate to do that because of my family, my friends, I think just having that base, that's a huge thing for me personally.
The challenge, right, is that we live in a world where we talk about social media, but you see constantly everybody uses social media as it's a perception piece, right? Like, I don't think anybody posts much on social that isn't ready for the larger audience, right? Like, okay, I look good in this. This is the message I want to put out.
Very curated.
It's very curated. So
the appearance of success and yeah.
So, and especially in the entertainment industry, it's so sometimes when you follow a lot of people in the space, it's like you see stuff constantly popping up, and it's not just one friend who's telling you once every month, oh, and I have this thing going on. It's a wave of things, and so it's tough, I think, to see all of that and not have it affect you. Like, you actually have to really be cognizant of. It doesn't matter. Like, it shouldn't matter. You're not comparing yourself to anybody else. It really is like, what do you want and what does accomplishment look like? But
I also think I have this conversation with my wife all the time of like, okay, when we retire, what are we going to do? Mm-hmm. Where are we going to go? Which mountain town do we want to go to? Which beach do we want to go to? And then I look at producers who I work with who are much older and who are just continuing to work, and they love their job and they just keep up and they get up in the morning and they just keep going to work. And it does shift my outlook on what I want to do with the rest of my life, because those guys are just working because that's what makes them happy. Mm-hmm. And I do think there is a degree of that, because you think okay, if someone came to you today and said, hey, you can retire in 5 years, mm-hmm. I don't think you would retire. I think you'd keep working.
Yeah. I mean, I because of what I do, it's the kind of thing that I'm very satisfied when I do it. It's not to say I wouldn't mind the luxury of being able to decide when and how often. I think that's a nice thing. At this point in my life, it's never ending and incessant. It is the kind of thing that I will wake up at 3:00 in the morning with an idea, and then when I get up later, a couple hours later, I have to sit and work on it because, I haven't reached that plateau that I've been striving for, that I'm ambitious about. So that version of success is still something I'm pursuing. Again, successful in a lot of other ways. I've got a 25-year marriage. That's a huge success. I've got 2 healthy kids, one in college, one about to get ready to go to college. That's I mean, testament to a lot of things, and I'd like to believe, our active participation in their life is what led to that. Me and my wife being partners and doing all that. So it's like, yeah, there's always going to be something that drives me and gets me up and makes me want to do more, but doing more, but so that someday I can do less, but still do.
I tell you, the one thing that I do struggle with, and when I think about this, is I don't know if, and I think, Paul, you might have mentioned a little bit of this, I don't know if I'm, like, am I doing enough, right? Like, when I go, yes, I've made a positive impact on my wife, my kids' lives, I've got good friends, but I don't know if, like, and I don't know if this comes down to, like, my sort of spirituality or whatever it is, but I do wonder, have I done enough? Have I succeeded in that realm? Because I don't know if I have, and I don't personally think I have. I don't actually even know what that looks like, but I don't. I mean,
are there things that you aren't doing that you wish you were doing? You don't necessarily have to call it out, but there's a list of things that you're like, man, I wish I was doing this too.
Well, the one example that I can point to is my brother Marty works with disabled children, right? He just sort of fell into the job, and he's been doing it for a couple of years. And I just always think, I'm like, and again, I'm not saying that I want that job, but I do think about him, and I think, and it's a hard job. Like, he gets faced with a lot of things that he has to do. And I will tell you, when I think about him, I do think, like, he has to feel pretty good, though. He's making a positive impact on a bunch of kids' lives. Right. So, and again, I'm not saying that's what I want to do. I love my job. But I just think about it, and I'm like, I just wonder if there's more I could do. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Do you, so you're working in television, you're shepherding shows to audiences at the end of the day, right? Is, when you look back at a year, how do you define success? Is it these shows were successful, a lot of people watched these things, they were great reviews, like what is it?
I think for me, I think I've gotten to the place where if I feel like it's a really good show, that's where I sort of, that's how I measure success, because I don't think I can measure success based on whether or not the audience watches it, because that's a variable that you can't really control.
Right.
But I think if you guys are like, hey, that was a great show, like, that actually means something to me. But, and I think, like, we all know when it's a good show and it's not a good show. That's someone I used to work with, someone, and they just used to say, like, all we can do is put our head down and make a good show. And that's basically all you can do. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So,
no, it's true. I mean, like, when I write an episode that, gets approved, goes through the production process, gets shot, gets aired, and people reach out to say, hey, I love that episode, or, that was really cool. Or even if I don't hear from them, but at the end of the day, I walk away feeling like I set out to tell a story a certain way. And, through the miracle of, television and the 200 some odd people that it takes to make a single episode of television, it exists. Like, that's maybe not capital S success, but it's certainly a lowercase s success that I do not take for granted.
The one thing I want to say, you talk about the money thing. Like, from my perspective, just give me enough to survive. I don't need to be living in a mansion. I don't need any of that. If I can be creative and do the things that that inspire me, that I love to spend my time doing, and get paid some modicum of money that allows for that to be the case, golden.
That you're not left wanting.
Yeah, I know so many people in this town who have so much money who are so unhappy.
See, that's too bad.
Who are, you look at them and these are people with millions and millions and millions of dollars, right? But they're not happy because they're not doing the things that they're excited about. I know people who come to this town who want to be in the entertainment industry who just, they started too late. They couldn't do it, but they have a lot of money. Mm-hmm. But is that enough? Like, we say this to our kids all the time. It's like, this is back to the nature versus nurture thing. Like, all day long, I will say, chase the things that you're excited about. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, like, people say this all the time, it won't matter. The other stuff won't matter if you're doing what you love, and it won't even feel like a job. If you're doing something you love, right, and you have enough to survive. And when I say survive, I mean, you're comfortable. You're not.
It's that saying, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, all that like I can do is say to my kids, what do you want? Like, what are you passionate about? Like, there are people I know whose kids are being told, if you don't do the career that I want for you, then I'm not going to pay for school. I'm not going to do this. Like, you must follow in my footsteps.
Yeah.
Like, it's not good.
No, I mean, we same thing with our kids. Like, we try to instill that in them, and I mean, you know, given what I do for a living, what you do for a living, like, we took a chance on something that could have panned out, could have not panned out. It could have gone either way. The truth of the matter is, listen, nothing's guaranteed. You can work at any company. You're working there, you think this is a secure, safe job, and guess what? 6 months later, a year later, you get laid off, right? Like, it happens because other factors are deciding your fate. You can start a business, and it can go well at first, or it could go terrible at first, and either turns around and plummets into nothingness, or turns around and rockets up, and it's a big success. Like, it just anything is possible, and you sort of have to you're gonna have to weather it, but like, if you go at it whole hog, I do believe you will succeed. You will find your definition of success.
And by the way, if you can, even if you're in that job that ultimately collapses, or that business that you started that ultimately doesn't go anywhere, if while you're doing it, this is my belief, every day that you're doing it, there's something, you're learning something, you're failing and learning something, right. You're having an experience like I finally got that moment to do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Like, that was a shining moment of our last episode.
Technically, you did the 5, 4, 3.
You're right. I only did 5, 4, 3.
It's good.
But that's why, like, the pandemic made me so focused on the present.
Yeah.
It's like, they say, like, if you're regretting your past, if you're regretting something, you're thinking about the past. If you're worrying, you're thinking about the future. If you can just enjoy, like, right now we're doing this podcast, like, there's nothing else I need to be thinking about. Like, it's just, we're rapping about, and of course thinking about my future and how much money I'll have when I die and those things. But
I have to come up with a bucket list, apparently.
You have to come up with a bucket list. But yeah, but it's like, none of those experiences will be for naught. Another saying we can examine another time. If you find something, for naught? Whilst for naught, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
I mean, that's
in one full swoop.
Perfect sentence.
Yeah. Anyways, if you can, and it's hard to do, but if you can actually enjoy something out of that day, then that's a success, I think.
It's funny. I think I was randomly thinking about this earlier today. I was thinking about if I could give one piece of advice to my kids, and I really was thinking about this. It's not because of the podcast. And I was trying to figure out what that was. And I remember a quote that I read, which was, be great wherever you are, right? And the whole premise is, no matter how menial you think your job is, how little you think your job is, right? Just be great at it, because it will open doors for you no matter what. And I think part of that was born out of the idea that I was like, I would want to tell Owen, like, just make sure you work hard. Because like, at the end of the day, I will say, for all intents and purposes, sorry, I was just trying to bring it back.
I know. Good callback.
But I will say, like, I think I work hard. Yeah. I think I've always valued that about myself, and I think I got that from my dad, and I know you guys do as well. Like, I was like, if I could tell Owen and Macy one thing, like, just work hard wherever you are. But then I did think, I was like, it's more than that, though. It is about understanding that you need to be great wherever you are, and that will open doors for other things to come. And I think it's like, that was just a piece of advice that I was thinking I would like to sort of make sure they have and they understand when they start working.
It made me think of a piece of advice that I also heard once, which was, just do your job and people will think you're amazing.
Yeah.
Right? Because so many people
don't do their job.
Don't even do the job. Like, if you can enjoy it and just do it and do a great job at it, you're like the top 10% of the world.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to develop a work ethic. Work ethic, to me anyway, is everything. Like, you may not be the best. Someone's going to be the best, and it may not be you. Or maybe it will be. Good luck. I hope you are the best at something. That's awesome. There are no more mountains for you to climb. But, like, most of us, I think, we are not the best. But that doesn't mean we can't be great. And I think that is, a good, solid work ethic gets you there. Or at least that's what I was.
No, I think that's good. I think that's all you can do, right? Like, I do think if my kids work hard and they try their best, and I know this sounds so cheesy, but if they do, that's all you can do. Like, because by the way, I had a lot of doors open for me, 100%. I had people who basically got me into this industry, and then sort of got me into this new job that I have that I've had for a while. Like along the way, the only thing I could control was how hard I worked. That was it. And then people just took care of me along the way, which is I'm super fortunate for. But like once you get in, I was having this conversation with someone the other day because Macy she's always like, she's like, I don't want to be viewed as a Nepo baby. I'm like, look, you can be a Nepo baby, but 2 weeks in, if you're not doing the job, you're gone. So
That's right.
It doesn't matter.
That's right. Yeah, no one's going to hand you $2 billion for your personal, business just because your dad was the president. Like, that's never going to happen.
President of the business, president of the country.
President of the country or the business or whatever that might be. No one's going to do that.
No.
It won't happen.
No one's really going around giving out $2 billion.
No one gives out $2 billion to anybody for doing nothing.
If you've got $2 billion to give out and you're not giving it out, what is wrong with you?
Think about all the people that have $2 billion. Why can't they just give everybody 10 grand?
Because then they wouldn't have $2 billion anymore.
There's a point where like Jeff Bezos and those people have so much money, and they're just going to give away their money anyways.
Yeah.
Like it's a whole other thing. I'm writing something down on a piece of paper soon about that. We're going to talk about it.
We're going to talk about that?
We may talk about that.
Oh, okay.
But in the meantime, what we have just delivered for our audience is the most hysterical episode we have ever made.
So I guess what you're saying is I need to not put such
no.
serious topics in the
I actually think it's great. I think we can't be funny every week.
No, we're not even funny.
We're inherently funny, but this is who cares?
We are a variety.
Who cares?
We're not recording. we're not recording this to deliver something we think the audience wants.
No. That's not our definition of success.
That's not success.
Success to us is...
Did we have a good time having a conversation today?
That's success.
100%.
I say the box has been checked.
This is my definition of success right here.
Right? We need tissues or something. Wouldn't it be great if we all cried?
Oh.
That would be amazing.
I was close.
Wow, that's heavy.
Heavy.
I wasn't trying to go there.
Listen, we hope... I at least hope somebody cried. I at least hope someone took something away from this episode that changed their life.
They were moved to tears?
Yes. If you cried, please let us know.
You know where you can let us know?
Tell us, Ben.
You could let us know on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads.
That's right. Or in your review on the iTunes podcast store, where we are loud and proud.
Burning up the charts.
Do we have any merch yet?
I still want to make the popcorn bucket. I still think
the bowl. We will. I think there's a list that's like the popcorn bowl, the drink cozy, the
that will be our success.
The blanket, the slanket.
The slanket, yes.
The slanket. I think that there's an opportunity.
All right, we'll get there.
Until then, that was what we're talking about this week. This is Paul.
This is Ben.
This is Mitch.
And we'll see you next week.
We won't see them.
No, well, you're right. We'll hear you. No, we won't hear them either.
We'll talk to you next week.
We'll talk to you next week.